And our runner, do you want to introduce yourself, Silver?
Yeah, so I'm MHFsilver, or just Silver, and I will be playing Mega Man Star Force 1. We're going to be doing any percent on the Legacy Collection, and I'm going to be utilizing all of the features that the Legacy Collection added. And so we're not going to be seeing encounters, we're going to be seeing Geo moving much faster, fights are going to be going by in the blink of an eye, and we're just going to see how fun and interesting and wacky things get when I literally have no restrictions on what I can do. So
Reason through the
primarily,
game.
yeah, primarily I do runs on the Dragon version historically, but my Dragon version on this is currently occupied by my 100% complete save, so we're gonna do it on the Pegasus version instead, primarily so I can set up one specific play, and I'll explain more of that once we get into it. But we can go ahead and get started if you guys are ready. I will just count down from 5. So we'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Woo, let's do it.
And so people who are familiar with the Star Force 1 speedrun may recall that the beginning of the run is not very interesting. We spend several minutes, at least historically on the DS version, we would spend roughly 7 minutes inputting cipher codes. But thanks to the adjustments in the Legacy Collection, that has been significantly cut down. And in fact, I'm only going to take one cipher code this entire run. So I'm going to take specifically this one cipher code, which is going to give me Break Saber, and that is all I care about. So we're now going to immediately go and enter the first section of the game where we're going to get a tutorial on how all the brother stuff works, and then we're going to get into the actual fun part, which is the actual combat. And we're going to see stuff get very wacky very quickly. You're also going to notice the text in this game is going to go by pretty quickly. With the DS version of the game, the text speed was very insane in that the speed at which the text goes is only limited by how fast you can mash. They definitely limited it here in the Legacy Collection where you can't spam nearly as fast. So like I can still spam pretty quickly, but it's not nearly as fast as mashing on the DS could be, so these sections do go a little bit slower on the Legacy Collection. But if people are curious like how I'm mashing, I am literally just mashing the A and B buttons with both thumbs to mash through these sections.
Classic mashing through text trick.
And so now we team up with Omegasis, and we're going to do our first wave change. As we go through this, you're also going to notice I'm going to have the arranged music on. I like some of the arranged tracks, and not a fan of some of the other ones. And then I'm also going to have all the new voice lines enabled. So we're going to hear a lot from Geo and Omegasis over the course of this. So we're going to go enter the tutorial.
What's your history with this game, Silver? Do you like grow up with it?
So, I wouldn't say I grew up with it because this game came out when I was in high school. So, but it was a game I played a lot. Specifically, the first game. This one I played a lot when it came out, and I had a lot of experience with playing with other people. And then I played the Battle Network games a lot with people growing up. And then when the Star Force game came out, I played this with a lot of the same friends I played Battle Network with. But by the time that Star Force 2 had come out, things were a little bit different. I didn't have nearly as much free time or money and ability to do stuff. And so I didn't play Star Force 2 or 3 when they came out. That happened much later down the road that I got into those. But my history with this game specifically is also sort of tied directly with this game's speedrun history. So I was one of the first RTA runners for this game. There were people who were speedrunning the game way before me on SDA, doing segmented runs way back when the game first came out. But when we originally started looking into speedrunning the Battle Network games, there wasn't anybody actually doing the Star Force games. And as someone who was still interested in them, just had a whole lot of history with them, growing up, and I guess I mentioned, but just playing with friends and stuff, I decided to take it upon myself to be one of the first people that actually started looking into this game as a speedrun. And so that's pretty much what I did. I just started doing runs of this. I did a very rough route way back in the day that wasn't very great. Like my first run of this game was over 5 hours. But my goal at the time was I wanted to beat the segmented time that was posted on SDA, which was like a low 3-hour time. And so my history, like way back, was just kind of grinding to improve had to have the RTA time comparable to the segmented time. And I did manage to achieve that, and then took a very long break. Now that we actually are in the main combat part of the game, we're going to actually go and edit our folder, and then we're going to do the wave transfer stuff, and I'm going to set myself to level 99. So we're going to get a bunch of buffs, and now we are just already immediately very OP. So I need to go around, and I need to check everybody's transfers. I just need to get into them. I don't actually need to read anything. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we actually don't have to worry about encounters either. So I can just run along. I don't have to worry about fighting anything. It's the main reason why I'm not really going to be building my folder out for anything, because we're not actually going to be doing any real combat outside of the boss fights. Oh, did I miss somebody? I believe I missed somebody.
And how do you intend to manage the boss fights?
So one of the benefits we get with the Legacy Collection is we can boost our attack stat to something very high. And then the wave scanner bonuses that I gave myself will also boost all of my stats. And so I basically have a machine gun as my buster that does just tons and tons of damage that we'll see here in a second. And it also, the wave scanner lets me start as the Ice Pegasus form in fights. So I will automatically have the ability to utilize the Star Force powers, which won't really matter too much. The only reason that I got that, the Break Saber, is specifically because the fact that I am Ice Pegasus means that my charge attack will freeze enemies. And Break Saber, if you use Break Saber into a frozen enemy, it does double damage. And so the only reason I took the Break Saber when doing this is to potentially set up for a 400 damage hit like instantly. Other than that, there really is no need to edit my folder or do any more of the cipher codes, because anything else we get, while it would be a nice bit of damage, it ultimately won't really speed up a whole lot of things. So we had our first day where we'd learn some of the mechanics of the game, and we're just going to go to sleep and get to the second, or I guess it's not even the second day, it's technically later at night. And we're going to be entering the first main dungeon of the game and fighting the first main antagonist. So I don't know if people who are watching, hopefully people have played Star Force, especially with the fact that Legacy Collection came out now I guess it's over, but it's not last month anymore. But the story of Star Force 1 is that the Omegasis comes from planet FM, is here trying to escape from planet FM, and the king of the planet has sent other FMians to chase after Omegasis. And the whole conflict is that they are chasing after us to try and get something that Omegasis stole. At the current time, we don't know what it is, but the FMians are coming here to sort of take over people and use other humans as hosts due to like emotional influxes. So a lot of the people we're going to be dealing with are going to have FMians take over their body due to some sort of emotional influence. Usually it's like someone being too sad or too weak or something like that. But all of the antagonists we're going to be fighting are FMians that have taken over a human like without them like consenting to it. So here we're going to be going after the first antagonist, which is Taurus, specifically Taurus Fire. And the dungeon for this one is we have to ride around on a bunch of bulls. Oop, I did press the wrong button. The nice thing about the Legacy Collection is all of the touchscreen minigames were changed to button inputs. And in this case specifically, they kind of goofed up, and that this minigame is actually easier on Legacy Collection because there is no consequence for getting the wrong input. So like right now, it's asking me to press certain inputs, originally on the DS, if you didn't tap the correct input or missed it, you would like you'd basically get a penalty. And now there is no penalty anymore, so I can just mash all the face buttons and it'll activate it the first frame possible, so I don't even have to worry about actually timing or really paying attention. And then for this first part of the dungeon, every time that I am going to grab one of these keys, I'm going to pulse out and pulse back in, just so I'm closer to where I need to go next. In the original DS run, we would do this also to reset our step counter, which would then reduce our encounter rate. But here it also just so happens to conveniently put me closer to where I need to be. So for these, we just, again, don't have to really... Well, I say I don't have to worry about it, and then it somehow missed it. But yeah, I get to just mash the face buttons with no real consequence.
Really taking the bull by the horns, huh?
Oh yeah. And then we get here, and now we can progress to the next screen. So because I'm going to be entering the second screen, I can't do the same pulse out, pulse back in, because the trip will take too long now. So there's no real benefit in doing it. But again, it doesn't really matter, because one of the benefits was also to reset our, get us closer to where we go and reset our step counter. And now it just kind of doesn't really matter, especially since we won't get encounters anyway.
Oh, can you see yourself like doing a full, like, committed speed run of this in the future, or do you think that would be too boring with all the quality of life stuff?
Me?
Yeah.
I mean, I've done speedruns of the original DS one. So
yeah,
I've
I mean the
done
Legacy
with
Collection. Like with everything,
Oh, yeah,
all the bells and whistles.
I mean, I've done runs of all 3 Star Force games with all of the settings like this turned on, just to see what the runs would look like. So I've already done it with every single one of them, technically. And the fun thing is, it drastically does speed up each of the games, which is nice for just like saving time's sake. So, for example, my personal best for Star Force 1 is a 3-hour flat on DS. And the first run I did with the Legacy Collection with all of these settings ended in a 1-hour, 53-minute time. So it cut over an hour off my personal best.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, it cuts down on a lot of stuff when you can just destroy everything and not have to actually do encounters. So it's pretty impressive how much faster it is. But as for like actively grinding it, I've thought about like trying to figure out what type of settings or what certain like scenarios and stuff I want to do, because the current idea behind the leaderboards and how we're going to handle the splitting of all of this stuff is just whether or not you're doing runs that have these features enabled or disabled. And so we can like you can technically just grind out a category that doesn't use like that does still have encounters but still lets you do run, like the increased movement speed and so on. So it's just about figuring out like what exact settings I want to do. But we're going to go into the first boss fight with Taurus. And I didn't get Break Saber, so I'm not going to worry. And he's already gone.
Oh, that's instant.
Yep, so he's already gone. And that's why we don't really have to worry about building our folder, is everything just kind of crumbles like that. The only reason I took the Break Saber was because if I can get it to draw, if I can draw it first turn, that's a quick 400 damage. But if I don't draw it, then there's no sense in like really trying to draw for it.
I think it's really cool that we're doing a showcase like this, because this collection added so many quality of life features, and it's just so cool to see those all cranked up to max. And, like, you know, you breeze through it.
Yeah, it's definitely... I don't think people would realize, like, just how fast these games could be. Especially, like, when the Legacy Collection first came out, I was seeing posts on Twitter of people who were taking, like, upwards of, like, 10 to 12 hours just to finish the main story without trying to get everything. And so, like, to show them, like, oh, yeah, I can do it in under 2 hours, they would definitely be, like, holy, that's insane that it can go that fast.
Yeah. It's also cool if you just want to like take in the story. Like, I've actually seen several streamers who are, like, new to Mega Man, never played a new Mega Man game before. They come into this, and they're really impressed by the story of it, but they're not, like, the best with the gameplay. So it's cool to see that they have the option to kind of just take it in their own stride.
Yeah, I do appreciate the fact that the Legacy collections have always done a good job at giving people the ability to just like crank up their power and stuff for the people who want to play these games more for the story and maybe suck at one part or one aspect of the game. Because like I personally, I've always preferred the RPG Mega Man games because I've been really bad at the 2D ones. And so replaying like the X Legacy collection, being able to like pump up my stats or do a bunch of damage or not take as much damage, it's just easier for me to play them that way and have fun rather than like knowing I suck at those games and it's just going to be painful to try and actually complete them.
Yeah, I know God mode is so underrated. It's like people think, okay, no, it's too easy, it's baby mode. But no, there's just a huge feeling of thrill that comes with just, feeling like you're a god and can breeze through the game like that.
Yeah. And especially people who just want to have fun and like turn off their brain and just press buttons and just chill. I definitely think that a lot of those features are designed for people who just want to come in, play a game for the fun of it, and say they experienced it and move on. And so
Yeah.
I've never been one to really care when there's like conversations that get brought up about like, oh, is this cheating? Is this like, not really playing the game? It's like everybody should have a way that they can actually play games, and if it just so happens to be that people have to turn on certain features to make it playable, then so be it. Let them play the game how they want to play it.
Yeah, I mean, they were added for a reason. For that very reason, I might think.
Yeah. So here we're in Anakin, and right now we're just gonna go and we're gonna inspect every single one of these exhibits. We have to do this to be able to advance.
I see so many streamers, I see so many people new to this game getting tripped up here, checking every single one of these.
Yeah, it's weird because not everything is actually required. Only some stuff requires to be checked. And then we get given a staff pass. They just give it to a kid. Surely there's no problem with that. So, now we're going to go back to all the exhibits in the museum because we're going to go do the space simulator. And we're going to almost immediately be getting into the next dungeon. That just shows you how fast some of this stuff goes, how quickly it all goes. Especially early on, a lot of these scenarios, or we call them scenarios, a lot of them kind of just go by really quickly at the beginning, and then near the end they start getting a little bit further apart. But at the start here, we can just get into them pretty quickly. So we just need to talk to everybody.
More like skip scenarios at this point.
Yeah. And then once this cutscene is over, I just need to press one button, and we're into another cutscene. And now to escape the scenario we're stuck in, we need to leave, but we have to answer a quiz that asks us how many planets are in the solar system. At the time, this answer included Pluto, because at the time when this game came out, Pluto was still considered a planet. Now it's not so much, so this answer technically is no longer correct.
So Pluto is included in the planets in this game, then?
Correct. But now we go and enter the Space Sim comps. And this area we're going to enter has one of my favorite tracks in the game. Even though it's just a remix on the game's like core theme, the Space Sim comps have a banger track. So we gotta go through here because we need to create the path for us.
Here they come.
Yeah, Star Force has incredible music.
Yeah, I think for the most part, the remix tracks do a really good job at being like, if not like better, they're as good as the originals. But there are some tracks that I personally think are better than the original, and the remix just not nearly as good. But for most of Star Force 1, I think the remixes are better.
Mm-hmm.
So now we enter. Everybody kind of remembers this section as the one time where we have to we gotta throw rockets at ducks, and the game is going to be automatically changing the aspect ratio and stuff. So because the entire gimmick was we had to be able to time the rockets, and no matter how you play, the game is going to automatically force this perspective, so it looks like you're playing the original DS. And we just gotta hit the ducks with rockets. Which, for most of them, it's fairly simple. So I just gotta press triangle at the correct time. And then I want to avoid doing that. If I can avoid getting hit by these shooting stars, if I can.
Keyword if.
Waste time. Yeah, if. Oh, and I guess I also never really addressed this. Oftentimes, you're gonna see me just walking into walls and like sliding against corners and stuff. The reason we do that is because it is technically faster to move this way. It's a holdover from all the Battle Network games and this game in general. We are just going to be holding like straight directions and are going to be hugging walls because of reducing what was called the step counter, and just reducing like overworld movement. So the way the step counter and like how encounters work in these games is it's tied to how many frames you spend walking. And so every time you change a direction, that's another frame that's counted as movement. And so just hugging walls like that means that we spend less frames changing direction and reduce the amount of frames being counted towards the step counter. And even though I don't have to worry about encounters, you're still going to see me constantly do this just because it's like muscle memory at this point to do that.
This is a great song. I'm very fond of it.
Yeah, it's a really good one. So far, this has been going decently.
Getting some barbecue duck for dinner.
And then now we're at the final comp for this area. Oh, I was unfortunately just a pixel too forward. The nice thing about the fact that this one especially got moved to a button input is it feels like, at least for me, doing this on the touchscreen of the DS was always kind of unresponsive, and I would never grab the rocket in time. It would just cause me to miss cycles.
Yeah, touchscreen on the DS wasn't the best thing ever.
For the most part, it's not too bad with these the mini games. There is going to be one mini game we're going to see in the next section that has actually gotten harder because of the Legacy Collection, that we can no longer actually utilize a strategy that was exclusive to being able to use the touchscreen. So it will be slightly harder going into our next scenario. So hopefully I don't mess that one up too much. Ah, it's too close. And then our final rocket. And I didn't miss a single duck.
We eating good tonight, boys.
Now we get to go into the Cygnus match. So Cygnus Wing is the antagonist of this scenario, and he currently basically trapped everyone to constantly be spinning until their oxygen runs out.
Bring it on.
Which obviously is not good. Everyone will just suffocate. And now he's gone.
Come on, I was just getting started.
So as I mentioned, the FMians are the antagonist of this, and they are taking over people who have like heightened emotions or like have signs of weakness or certain things going on with them. in this instance, the guy that we just dealt with, he was insecure about like his contributions and whether or not he actually mattered. And so the FMian had latched on to that feeling of insecurity and tricked him into thinking that like he was better than everyone and nobody respected him and that he should be better, like he should be the one in charge, that everyone was like stealing his ideas and all this stuff. So that's like a trend with every of our antagonists. Is there either somebody we know or like one of our friends who just so happens to have something occur to them where they have like insecurities or emotional situations where the FMian is able to just take over because of it.
So I have a question. You mentioned before that Cygnus's plan was to keep those guys spinning until their oxygen ran out, but Tom Dubious later reveals that he filled that whole room with oxygen, as a matter of fact, later on. So it's like, doesn't that kind of beat what his purpose was?
Yeah, I think in a lot of the instances, it's all like they just don't really. The FMians are unsure of what's going on, and they all think that their plan is going to work, and so things are set up in such a way where they feel that they're going to be the victors. So even though Cygnus was not aware of the situation and what had happened, he's still doing it with the intent that this will end up getting rid of everybody.
So more like mind games than anything, huh?
Oop, I meant to check his. There we go. There we go. So in this situation, we have a guy from the Satella police who's currently investigating the weird energy waves that are coming off in this area. And we don't want him to catch on to us because we are the reason for it. So right now, we're just going to try and fix this robot so we can hit him with a baseball. And what's really funny is in later games, it's most notable in Star Force 2, when you check when you talk to the same NPC in Star Force 2, he'll have a thing that says his least favorite thing are baseballs, which is a reference to the fact that we're about to just clock him.
Oh, that's funny.
So right now, this is another cutscene where I have to just mash through. I can't skip this one. So Omega Sis tricks him into following him up here.
You know another thing I love about these games? The NPCs' names. They are so funny. Like when you go into their bios and read them, they're just peak puns.
And he's out. So now that he's knocked out, the main reason we needed to knock him out is he had basically had a barrier preventing us from checking his transer to figure out what he knows and what he's doing here. So knocking him out with the baseball knocked out his shield. So now we can actually check out what he's doing here. And this is where we learn that he's onto us. So now when I go over here to check it out. So here, he's looking into it and then says Geo is the primary suspect. And so what we do is we delete all his data. We delete all of his research, and then because of getting knocked out, he also just kind of forgets what he's here for, so he just leaves. And now our job's done, we can just go to bed. And then this scenario is where we're also going to meet everybody's favorite character. We first gotta go find her. So we
I
get
like how
the
there are
help
two...
signal.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's so funny that there are two scenarios back to back where a stranger just barges into Geo's house. And it's like, what?
Yeah. No respect.
Yeah. I know. They think they're the protagonists of this game and can just barge into any NPC's house whenever they want.
Exactly. So This scenario is around Sonia Strum, which is one of the most popular characters from this entire series. And in this game, she is trying to escape the fact that she's basically being forced to sing and make music when right now she just really doesn't want to do that. And her agent is basically forcing her into it against her will. So right now we're helping her basically escape the agent. And then out of nowhere, weird stuff starts happening and the building starts losing power. And so we have to go fix that.
If she debuted today, you know that she'd become a VTuber.
Yeah, and the profile picture I've used on like literally every platform is actually Sonia, and has
I was gonna
been
point
this
that out
profile.
too, yeah.
This has been like the profile picture I use on sites since like 2013.
Same with mine, actually. I've been zero since forever.
So for people who've seen me around for a long time know me for this picture, and so it has basically become like a lot of people when they see this image or see her, they think of me, and so it's just I've just kept it that way.
Silver Strum, huh?
And it's become a running gag of mine where when I have to like announce things or post important things, I refer to myself as like everybody's favorite Sonya profile picture. So like when I posted on Twitter that I got married, I referred to myself as everybody's favorite Sonya's profile picture. When I went on to AGDQ earlier this year, that's how I introduced myself as well. So like, it's just a running gag I have with myself.
How nice of you to give how nice of you to give Capcom permission to use your character in the game.
Yeah, right? So all of these fights that I'm doing right now that I'm kind of breezing through are supposed to be like high-level virus encounters through these energy balls. But obviously nothing is really a threat for me, so I don't have to really worry at all. But the point is they're supposed to be like a giant spike in difficulty and suddenly fighting like these larger viruses. Because, spoiler alert, there really isn't a whole lot of fighting that's going to be happening in this scenario otherwise.
I won't lose. I hope I can get even stronger.
Now that all of those are gone, we can go back. We gotta talk to Sonia, and she wants to talk to us on the roof. So we'll go over to the roof. And this is where she tells us about her situation. And then after here, we just start heading home. And that's when everything starts kicking off. Because the Femian takes over Sonia because of her emotional state currently not being the greatest. And so she gets taken over. And the actual like main dungeon actually doesn't have its own dedicated area like we have been seeing. It takes place over the course of Echo Ridge and here in Anakin, and is her like mini game is the thing that has been made harder in Legacy Collection because we can no longer use a trick that I don't know if like I came up with. I don't remember, but there was like a strat we would do on DS that would make this mini game like a joke, and now you can't really do it on Legacy Collection, so it does actually make it a hassle and not nearly as easy to do. So hopefully I don't fail it.
And all the kids are dead on the side after that skip. It's like the classic example. The classic example of I'm never skipping a cutscene again.
So we have to shoot down notes that are coming in certain directions from us. So the strategy on DS was always that we would cycle between like the rightmost notes, because we can just rapid fire them with the stylus. Because the way it would work on DS is the shots can be counted based on when you would touch the buttons. and so we would just we'd basically just be swiping over the rightmost buttons constantly until we see a note on the left-hand side, and then just swipe over to that button real quick. But with the Legacy Collection, we cannot do that, obviously, because we're not swiping over them anymore. We have to actually touch the button. And unlike on the DS, it seems to have actually capped how fast we can press them as well. And it's going to get very hectic, where they're going to start coming much faster, and we can't react to them nearly as fast as we could on the DS.
But you
So
can since you're a speedrunner.
I mean, I'll admit, I've definitely failed this. The run I did I literally ran this game the night it came out, and I failed one of these minigames. Like, it is not easy.
Well, that's the night it came out. That doesn't count.
So now we're just chasing after her, and at this point she moves on to Anakin, so we just gotta go pulse out and chase her over there. And we'll do one more of these note mini games. And this is, of course, the hardest one.
What would you say would be the hardest part of a run like this?
On the DS, the hardest part is there's a certain fight near the very end of the game that, because of our setup and the things we do, you are not very well equipped to fight, and it can very easily go south and you can die very easily. With these settings, even that's not that's a joke. But on console, there is a fight, and I'll point it out when we get to it, but there is a fight in the game that is very scary in normal DS runs. So in that case, like, I failed that one because it was still detecting me pressing square despite the fact that I was pressing X. So unfortunately, that's one loss.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's fast, man.
Okay,
GG's.
so I only failed it once. But yeah, it's a lot more hectic when we kind of can't really cheese it as easily as the DS one. You have to actually, like, press the buttons and shoot them down. Kind of wild, but yeah, it's kind of a wild theory, a wild concept that you actually have to do the work.
Show 'em what you've got.
Yeah, maybe not the best optimized for this collection.
We showed 'em who's number
I
one.
could have made that a little bit faster if I actually realized I had Break Saber and took it. But oh well. So now we're going to enter the next scenario, which we just call we base the scenario off the satellite admin we're going to be doing. So in this case, because I'm playing Pegasus, we'll be doing the Pegasus Magic scenario. And this is where you would normally, in the story, learn the Star Force ability. And so we have to go through and prove the fact that we can actually handle it. Right now, we have to go through an unskippable cutscene where we're going to form a brother band with Sonya. And all of the scenes leading up to a brother band, you cannot skip. So I have to mash through all of this. So for I think it's like a minute and a half straight, I have to just mash through all this text.
Yeah, that's a lot of text.
Yeah. It wasn't as big of a deal on DS when, like I said, mashing was a whole lot faster. And some people may, if people are familiar with RPG speedruns, you may be aware that most RPGs, the people run the games on the Japanese version because of text speed. With Star Force, it has never really been a matter of needing to play on Japanese because almost all of the text can be skipped either just by skipping with the cutscene or in sections like this where we have to smash through text. Because the text speed on the DS was only limited to how fast you can mash, Japanese realistically saves minuscule amounts of time, and so it was just never really worth it for an English speaker, an English runner, to play on Japanese for any sort of real advantage. And
Also
in
a
fact,
tribute to. Oh, sorry. That's also a tribute to just how fast you can mash, huh?
yeah, and it's thankfully not like it's pretty easy to mash, honestly, with sort of these games. Like optimal speed to get through text is not that difficult to do. Um,
Mm.
but even like as someone who is a native English speaker, you also face difficulties switching to Japanese on DS for the sole purpose of the cipher codes, where now you have to type them in Japanese.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Dang.
And some of the cipher codes are like actual words and sentences and stuff. So, not nearly as easy. So
Well,
now
good
we're
way
being
to...
forced to actually attend school. We're going to go over here. We're going to go up on stage in the gym, and there's a the game doesn't put us in a panic, like the panic music doesn't kick in, but we're technically in a panic state where there's a certain enemy called a jammer who has appeared, and we have to chase him down. Now this is the only instance in the game where I need to actually lose a fight because I cannot kill this guy.
Yeah,
Now,
it's scripted.
we're scripted to lose. Now, normally, you would just let him run your health down if we were doing this on DS, but obviously I have too much health. But the nice thing is, it's either he deletes you or 3 turns pass. So if I just
Interesting.
let the turns run out, then we'll just progress anyway. So we don't have to worry about it. But yeah, on DS runs, you would just let him actually kill you.
You weren't fast enough. You lose.
Pretty much. And it's like that with, in Star Force 2 and 3, any sort of scripted event like that where you're intended to lose, it's the same way. Or if you can just run out the turns. I think the only exception is technically in Star Force 3, when you have to go against Acid Ace for the first time. I think you have to like actually meet a time requirement in the battle. I think that's the only exception.
Mm.
So now we're going to go back and we're going to talk to Aaron, who's this whole time, this guy Aaron we've been going to, he's actually our dad's best friend. So the main like plot point is that Gio's dad is gone, and Aaron's like our only real like source of information and like connecting with our dad. And so we go to him a lot throughout this game.
He's a cool character. I've always liked him.
Oh, I did not go onto the roof first. So the main reason we came here is because our necklace started glowing, and so we reached out to see if maybe Aaron would know why that's the case. It's actually the satellite admins trying to contact us. So I messed up. I'm supposed to go on the roof first before going to Pulsin. And this is where we're actually going to meet the satellite admins as they tell us, like, hey, that's us trying to reach you. We have a trial we want you to undertake. And the whole point of this is, after we lose to that jammer, Gio starts doubting his abilities and thinks he's too weak to actually do anything. And so the satellite admins step in and are like, no, you just lack the power needed to stand up against everybody you're going to be going up against going forward. We will grant you that power, but you have to prove to us that you still have some capabilities. So they're going to make us do a couple trials. So we have to talk to these NPCs to undergo their star trial, which is just fighting bigger enemies.
Come on, I was just getting started.
I'm counting on you, Mega.
Seen a lot of newcomers struggle with this part too. The bigger
Yeah,
enemies.
there's
Put up a fight.
the G viruses can be dangerous, especially if people are not like actively going around trying to increase their HP. This is a point in the game where having low amount of HP will very easily get you killed. In the normal DS run, we would only really have about I think like less than 200 HP here.
Feeling good.
So a lot of these viruses can either one-shot you or two-shot you. So very dangerous. And even then, like, by the time the DS run is done with the game, if you don't, like, the route I do would take extra HP, but the optimal route would take no extra HP, and you'd be going into the final boss with, like, 300 HP.
Wow.
So, the normal run is, we're basically like wet paper throughout the run.
And it's a long run too. That's the like as you go on, the stakes just get higher and higher, huh?
Yeah, especially because once we're done with this scenario, we're going to enter a section of the game that makes that very, very scary. And I'll explain when we get there. But now that we've cleared all the trials, now we can actually go fight Pegasus. So we just got to go over here. And Pegasus will challenge us. Pegasus is technically the easiest of the satellite elements to fight because he kind of just stands still a lot. And he kind of just takes it.
I hope I can get even stronger.
Is that why Pegasus is the preferred version to speedrun?
Technically, the preferred version, it really doesn't matter because ultimately the Star Force power doesn't change a whole lot, the run. But technically, Dragon has the advantage because its Star Force form has a level of advantage that the other two forms don't get. But it really, even that doesn't change enough to have it be preferential. And so a lot of the times runners just run whatever version they have or whatever version they prefer. So now we have to actually go to school. This whole time, after our dad disappeared, Gio has actively not been participating in school. So now our mom is basically forcing us, like, yeah, you don't have an excuse now, you have to go. I keep talking to the NPC.
Gio's got a lot of peer pressure coming down on him here.
Yeah. So we gotta go into our class.
It's really funny to me, though, because all this crap hits the fan when Gio actually starts going to school, and it makes you think, geez, this game's really not making a very good argument for him needing to come back, is it?
Some of these NPCs are annoying to talk to because you can accidentally talk to the desk and then you get text you don't want. And now that we've talked to everybody, we gotta go to the gym again. And then one of the funny things that so the brother band we formed with Sonia just before this whole thing, your brother bands give you abilities. In the case of Sonia, she gives us a starting barrier as well as the ability to survive attacks and tank at least 1 HP. And we get that just before a scenario where we have to intentionally take a death. And so it prolongs that fight by exactly 2 attacks because of that. If we literally either Sonya had different abilities or we got her at even like 10 minutes later, it would be a different story. And that fight would be the fight with the jammer where we have to lose would be slightly faster. So now with this scenario, the antagonist is Libra, who takes over our teacher. Our teacher is somebody who he has a bunch of kids and uses this job to be able to sustain all of his children and is being threatened with being fired. And so he's dealing with concerns of, like, he won't be able to provide for his family. What is he going to do? Like, his kids are going to need to be taken away from him, this, that, and the other. And so that's how Libra is able to take over.
His number of kids is one thing, but I personally think the most impressive trait about him is that he can blink with his eyes closed.
And then here's the actual, like, Star Force tutorial. So here's how we're going to normally learn how to use the Star Force ability. But of course, we've had it this whole time, so it really doesn't matter. I'm going to try and actually use this. Oh, come on. Alright, well. Alright, well, that didn't work out, but that's fine. He still dies instantly.
We blasted him into stardust.
Like a matter of milliseconds lost with that buster.
Yeah. So now we have to go chase after Libra. go. We go. And then this scenario in this dungeon specifically is a very scary one to do with the health that we would normally be at on the DS run, because this section, the whole gimmick is we're supposed to answer trivia questions that get flown at us. And every time you miss, every time you get one incorrect, you lose 10 HP. And because we're trying to just go fast, we're just mashing through these. We don't care if we're getting the answer correct or not. And so normally in the run, like the DS run, we already don't have a whole lot of health. And so if we get bad luck and just so happen to not get the right answer through our mashing, it's very easy for our health to tank and get to a point where we are in very scary situations. So it's not uncommon for people like runners to go into the boss of this dungeon at like maybe even 1 health.
And is the boss itself scary?
He can be. He is very annoying and has attacks that definitely are more deceptive with how they start. Like attacks that look like he's going to start dealing damage immediately and then it's delayed. So it can definitely catch you off guard if you aren't fully aware of all of his attacks.
Speaking of guard, do you guys use the guard much in the speed run?
Not really. I mean, obviously we're gonna want to use it because we have no health, but whenever there's definitely attacks that we have to use it for. The most notable one is in this fight we're gonna do. A couple of his attacks we have to guard to avoid damage, and then the final boss has a couple attacks that we can only guard to avoid damage.
Yeah, you see newcomers struggling with that guard a lot, like getting the timing just right with it. Seems like a pretty tricky feature to use. Do you guys have much trouble with it?
Not really.
I just got used to it.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff is even though I took like an extended break from doing runs of this game, it is still like locked into my brain on how to do a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So coming back after I hadn't done a run in like 9 years, and so coming back after 9 years, it still was like instant muscle memory on how to do a lot of this stuff.
I relate to that though, man. I speedrun Mega Man Zero myself, and it's the exact same for me. I don't do runs very often, but I've been playing it for so long, like ever since childhood. So it's like it's hardwired into my brain, the muscle memory.
Yeah, the nice thing is when it comes to certain like RPG runs, especially this one where it's realistically pretty straightforward, it's pretty easy to just keep a lot of the stuff in your mind.
Yeah.
So as we see already, I've taken, like, my max health is 1,140, and I'm already down to 980. So I've already taken a good chunk of damage. And so the DS run would probably be, I'd probably be at 1 HP right now. And it's just not worth actually trying to answer the questions correctly to avoid the damage, because it's just so much faster to just mash and just take the hit.
Chat saying, "How are you so good at these tests? Wow."
I would make a joke about not being this like this being me in school, like failing tests, but I was honestly like a giant nerd in school, and I got like really good grades for most of it. So
You won't be getting out of
Well,
this.
we'll run with that then. You are just that good with the tests in this game.
We deleted them
And there
until
he
next
goes.
week.
Nice, GG's.
not sure why that transition took so long.
I was gonna say,
was
yeah. That would kill one of your older runs, huh?
Okay. Now we're on to our next scenario, and we're gonna go. Oop. back to class and talk to everybody again. And this is the point where some of the sections get a little bit longer between the actual like start and the dungeon itself. But yeah, that fight, if you're doing the DS run with the normal route where you don't really get any extra HP, you will probably going to go into that Libra Scales fight with 1 HP or like around that point. So definitely very scary to do. And it used to be the same for this scenario we're doing now, where the dungeon's gimmick for this one also results in taking a bunch of damage. Thankfully, the approach has changed over the years as to whether or not it's faster to tank the damage or save time by not doing it. Purely because if you tank the damage, while you can move through things faster, I'm supposed to go back to my class. While you can move through stuff faster, the risk is by doing that, you have extra text boxes. And so it ends up being just ever so slightly faster to slow down and not just face tank damage. So now there's jammers at our school, and we need to try and figure out how to leave. We try to leave, they stop us, so we got to figure out what to do. And in this case, we have our class president, Luna, is with us. She's just kind of hanging out. We're here to technically protect her, but we're just gonna put her in a classroom and just tell her to not leave. Because at this point, nobody knows that we're Mega Man, so we're still trying to hide what's going on. So we basically just tell her, like, yeah, hide here. I'm going to go check things out and see if it's safe out there. Meanwhile, we're actually going to go take care of the threat. Okay. And here's where we would normally find the... we would normally run into the jammer, but they escape because now they know that Luna is somewhere else. So now we have to come back down here to save her.
Dashy Swag in the chat is saying hi to you.
Yo,
Several good lucks too.
Up? I appreciate the good luck. So far, it's going pretty well.
All right, let's clear them out.
And that guy's gone.
You're no match for us.
So now we've stopped the jammer and we've saved Luna. And I forgot to mention, after the whole situation with Sonia, her FMian decides to be nice and decides to turn to the good side. So she is able to, just like us, turn into a different form, and now she's able to just fully control herself while doing it.
The only one besides Omega who does that, right?
In Star Force 1, yes. In Star Force 2 and 3, there are more characters that have the ability to wave change naturally without being manipulated.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're here to hang out with Sonya at the mall.
I like how they
also
totally.
where our next dungeon is.
I like how they totally changed Shibuya into Times Square. I think in the Japanese version, this place was a clear reference to the department store 101, which is kind of like this trendy clothing place. Here it's just Macy's.
Yep. So we gotta check out the snake exhibit. I need to talk to all of these signs and a couple of specific NPCs. And we can come up here. Did I miss one? Did I miss a sign? I don't feel like I did, but that should have been it.
We could call this scenario the Shibuya incident, says chat. Pretty much.
Actually, did I even... I didn't even check the very first sign. Okay. And now, we're gonna leave.
I'll never get over how goofy those snakes look.
And then everything kind of breaks out. So in this scenario, Luna is actually our antagonist. So at this whole time, she's jealous to see that Gio and Sonia are hanging out. And so she gets taken advantage of because of that. So right now, she's completely locked out this whole like snake exhibit we were in and flooded with snakes. So we need to go and figure out what's going on. So we have to pulse in to get over here.
The premise of this scenario is really truly horrifying when you think about it, with all the snakes running around.
Yeah. Oh. And then I need to talk to this guy who will tell me how to deal with the snakes. Now I gotta go find the maintenance guy.
On the air.
And the maintenance
Holy
guy
snake.
will has a specific things we need in order to control the snakes.
If only Snake Man was here to save us.
Pulls in.
Yeah, it's like the old man's lying there dead on the floor. What is this?
Come on. There we go. We need to come here to this igloo, and we're going to find the maintenance guy, and he's going to give us a card that'll allow us to change the temperature, and that way we can freeze the snakes. So now we got to go all the way back up.
Pulls in.
All right, now we can go back to all the snakes, and now we can use Thermoman to make it cold.
Saying, Nerd Dad TPC specifically is saying, this is the first time I've seen a Star Force game. Kind of excited I get to check it out a bit.
The Star Force games are very, very good, and with the Legacy Collection having come out recently, it's caused a lot of more discussion around if people prefer this or Battle Network. And I've got a bit more of a soft spot for Star Force than I do Battle Network, even though I technically spent more time playing Battle Network than I've ever spent Star Force. But I think just my time with these games of like speed games has directly influenced like my opinion and my perception of them, and I just enjoy them more for it. So now we enter this dungeon, and the gimmick with this is we have to go and save these Mr. Hertz that have been poisoned, and the antidote for their poison is buried deep into these areas that we have to trek. And when we pick up the antidote, there are going to be poisonous snakes that are going to pop up. This is the section I mentioned where we originally used to just face tank all the damage. When the snake hits you, you take damage, and I'm going to do it still here. We're going to take damage from getting hit, and then we get poisoned. And when we have this poison state on us, when we talk to the Mr. Hertz to give him the antidote, it's going to add a couple extra text boxes of him realizing we're poisoned as well, and him giving us some of the antidote. And so this is part of the reason why it's been reconsidered whether or not it's faster to just face tank the damage or not, like just take a second to preserve your health and not actually get poisoned. A nice benefit is also on the DS, when you have the antidote, you actually can't get into encounters. And so it's actually entirely possible to go this entire dungeon without a single encounter. If you get lucky enough, you can do this entire dungeon without an encounter.
Wow, nice.
And then there's a specific spot. I should be able to stand here. Oh, I must have been slightly off. But yeah, there's a spot right there you can stand and you'll be safe. So unfortunately, we get the extra text boxes.
Yeah, the Legacy Collection really is a great repackaging of these games. I think the quality of life features are even better than Battle Network, to be honest.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that the comparatively Battle Network kind of got snubbed when it comes to the quality of life stuff. Because this game not only adds a lot of like better features, but it also adds a lot of the Japan exclusive content. And while Battle Network Legacy Collection did also bring in Japanese exclusive content, just like all the other things and the extra bells and whistles this added just makes it a better package overall.
That free camera in particular is a huge game changer for me.
Oh yeah. And now we get to where we need to get 2 antidotes. So there are 2 Mr. Hertz that are poisoned. So we can go and we have to grab 2 antidotes. So thankfully, we can grab both of them at the same time. I don't have to return to like turn in 1 antidote in order to get the next. And this is also part of the reason why you can do this entire dungeon without encounters, is once you have this first antidote from this section, you can just come down here and not deal with a single encounter on your way here. So
Noble
here
Boy
I am
saying-
still going to take
Oh, sorry.
damage.
Feel free to talk over me whenever I try to talk over you. Hence, they should port these quality of life options to Battle Network. Yeah, I think that would be cool too. At least the ones that are compatible.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Capcom's approach to a lot of these legacy collections is once they release them, they're kind of done with them.
Yeah.
And they don't really adjust anything, which is kind of problematic because Star Force 3 does have a bug on the Legacy Collection, and it's probably just never going to get addressed because of their approach of just kind of setting and forgetting these collections.
Oh, snap. Is it a bad bug?
Depends on how you look at it. In Star Force 3, there are some parts that you can do where you have to find these hidden areas, and for some reason, if you're playing on English, these hidden areas won't appear. And so to make them appear, you have to back out of the game, change your game to Japanese, go back in, uncover the areas, back out, change your language back, and then you can progress.
What the heck? That's a little out of the way.
Yeah.
Fan modders will save the Battle Network Legacy Collection. I was going to kind of touch on that too. I hope that the fans will do what Capcom hasn't. I know with
this snake.
I know with the Zero Collection anyway, man, fans have come in with so many mods and stuff for that collection, and it's a real game changer. With the remastered music mods and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I still need to replay those because I bought the Zero's ZX collection and only really played the ZX games because I have more of a fondness towards them.
Yeah, I get that. They're a lot more accessible, not as hard as the Zero games.
Yeah, and I also used to run ZX Advent back in the day, so I just have more of an
cool.
affinity for those games.
Do you do easy mode for the optimal speedrun for that game?
So I did runs on easy mode, but back in those days when I did runs of them, it was still the idea of running games on any difficulty other than the default was considered like a taboo thing. And so
Interesting.
initially my runs were not allowed on the leaderboard because they didn't accept easy mode runs, even though
Really?
technically easy mode would be faster.
Oh, yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah, I remember seeing seeing the speedrun at GDQ one day, and it was done on easy mode. And I got to admit, I was a little disappointed because I wanted to see it done on normal mode, which is the mode I usually play on. You know, I kind of felt like things were being cheesed a little too much, even if they were faster.
Yeah, and the stance has changed now. They do accept easy runs, but at the time when I was doing it, the perception was that if it wasn't on normal, it wasn't like a real run of the game.
That's fascinating. Dang.
We deleted them into next week.
And now that we're done
But
with this, we get our next brother band with Luna, who now learns of our identity. So now this is how she figures out that we are, in fact, Mega Man. And Mega Man is
that
technically something
expression.
she's idolizing the whole time.
I love Gio's expression there. His sprite. It really is an awesome Geo sprite.
So once again, I have like over a minute straight of just having to mash. So the abilities that Luna gives us aren't very important. They don't really contribute to anything we're trying to do. Stonia's at least gives us a barrier and the ability to survive at 1 HP. So she is useful for the normal runs where we just don't have HP. Basically gives us 2 extra attacks we can tank. But Luna's abilities don't really contribute to anything of value for us.
Proof that Sonia's the better girl.
Now, we're going to go hang out with Pat, who is the green-haired guy we've been seeing and talking to a couple times.
If you will permit a question from chat, did that normal or nothing perception also extend to hard modes, or was it just an easy mode stigma? That's a good question.
Hard mode was always allowed. If you wanted to do it on hard, it was its own thing. But the general perception was always, if you're going to do a run of a game, it's either you do it on normal and it's any percent, or you do it on hard and it's any percent hard. So it was a different time where playing on easy mode in games was just never a good thing, and like communities didn't allow it because it was like it was cheesing a lot of stuff and making it way too simple. Even though like when I did runs of Advent, I did it because like easy mode is faster. Like there are sections of that game that when you're on easy and you don't have to worry about insta dying from spikes, you can just rush through certain rooms.
Yeah. Well, I know even the Legends community has a big easy mode category, which is very popular now. I'm curious how that was perceived back in the day now.
I think the Legends community has always did easy mode as their primary category. It was mostly, I think, because a lot of the mods for the ZX games were mods for the Zero games, and there was the conversation about doing Zero runs on easy mode using the Zero collection on DS, and that was like forbidden at the time.
It's so
And
strange.
so the conversation of allowing easy mode on ZX Advent, it was basically like a no-go. And so I just did runs on easy mode anyway. It's like I don't really care if it doesn't go on a leaderboard. I don't care. This is just how I want to run the game, so I'm gonna do it.
And they aged like wine after the fact.
Yeah. And now it's kind of funny to look back because my runs are on the leaderboard for easy mode, and my times aren't even good. So like it was like a huge deal, and like ultimately I wasn't even good at the run. So like, was it really worth the hassle?
That's funny. Yeah, Pat is kind of homeless right now. Feels bad, man.
Yeah, he kind of just lives in this. I mean, he technically, you could argue he lives in the park, not the dump, but he was found in the dump.
Yeah, it was found in the dump. That is such a nuts story.
Pulls in. All right.
Now we get a fight with the jammer and some extra viruses thrown in for good measure.
That's what you get for underestimating me.
Was this on the SRC boards or the Mega Man leaderboards? What does SRC mean?
Speedrun.com. It was on the Mega Man leaderboards. The Mega Man RTA leaderboards, there was debate on whether or not easy should be allowed. But by the time, because the Mega Man leaderboards were used before Speedrun.com even existed. And still to this day, the Mega Man RTA leaderboards are still maintained in parallel to Speedrun.com. There's just some discrepancies in like who mods some games. So like there's different mods on Speedrun.com than there are on the RTA boards or RTA leaderboard site. But other than that, a lot of the times and stuff are the exact same because people will just submit to both.
Almost had some real gatekeeping going on there, huh?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, like I said, it was a different time. People just had different ideas as to like keeping like the idea of speedruns being like pure rather than focusing on that. Ultimately, the reason why you should allow stuff like easy mode is for accessibility.
Yeah, having fun. Mega Man 10 had easy. Yeah, I know Mega Man RTA is the primary leaderboards for Mega Man runners.
Yeah, for a while, some Mega Man games didn't even exist on Speedrun.com because people were using the RTA board instead.
Yeah, for real, guys. Shout out to Pat for, I guess, putting up with that crappy lifestyle. I don't know if he puts up with the best imaginable, but dang, talk about a tragic backstory. It's kind of crazy that they presented this in a kids game.
Yeah, technically, Pat is the antagonist of this scenario, specifically Gemini, the FMian who took over. And as opposed to all the other FMians we've been dealing with, Gemini is different in that he is like one of the most powerful FMians. He also has an ability where he can manipulate people's emotions. And so, as opposed to all the other that we've been dealing with, Gemini has the ability to freely manipulate the emotions of a human host to be able to take over them. In this case, he is Pat is also not in like the greatest mental state. He also has like split personality disorder that Gemini is taking advantage of, but he's also just still manipulating Pat's emotions to make it easier to control him. And we enter the dungeon here. So the main gimmick of this is we have to help find these Mr. Hertz that are buried in the trash. And we're normally supposed to use a little sonar to find them, but I just have maps that tell me where each of them are, so I don't have to actually worry about the gimmick.
Nice.
So we can just go beeline straight for them. Come on. There we go. And then once I find them, they're gonna then I move the trash that's blocking the way.
Gimmicks are for casuals.
And then I'm gonna pulse out and pulse back in because it puts me ever so slightly closer to the end.
Yeah, the pros make their own gimmicks to counter the bad gimmicks.
Bring it goodbye.
I need to get rid of this guy in the back. There we go.
Wasn't even a contest.
And now we can move on to the next one. So we repaired this path. And then this is very funny. So we need to be able to pulse into this little rocket, but we're too far away as where we're standing, so we have to come over here to pulse in. And this, where we're standing at now to get into it, is arguably, from the perspective, it looks like it's actually farther away. So here we have to, again, just find some guys buried in trash. Or, come on, you're supposed to be right here. And then...
Yeah, perspective is an illusion, says Lobo in the chat.
Yeah, it's a big pain here. Now this one, I don't know if it's technically faster to pulse out and back in with the increased movement speed, but I'm still going to do it. So the final Mr. Hertz is actually really close to where we start. He's actually just down here. And now, because normally in the DS I would pulse out and pulse back in again to reset the step counter, but we don't have to worry about that, so I'm just going to walk into it like normal.
Bring it on.
I'm glad the Mr. Hertz weren't hurt.
I hope I can get even stronger.
Shout out to the
Now we get to move
forklift
on
certified
again.
Hertz.
And they have more certification than I do.
I mean, apparently not, since, well, you're not doing it in the game, I guess. Never mind.
And now, we're going to enter the final area.
Geostellar, on the air.
Now, I had mentioned earlier that the version difference realistically didn't make a whole lot of difference. And that is true, but one of the big advantages that the Dragon specifically gets is the Gemini Spark fight is significantly easier when you're playing as Dragon because you do grass damage, which is Gemini's weakness. And at this point, Gemini is the biggest threat and has the most health of the bosses. And we have to fight him again later. So technically, Dragon has the advantage in that it can deal with Gemini a lot faster. But it still is a negligible difference, and is like why we don't split the leaderboards. Like if you look at Battle Network games like 4, 5, and 6, the leaderboard is split by what version you play. We don't do that for any of the Star Force games, because the difference between the versions is just so minuscule that it's not worth splitting them over.
That's cool. Makes it more accessible.
Yeah, you can just play on whatever version you want, because the benefits of X, Y, or Z is like so minuscule. And it's especially true in Star Force 2, where the speedrun for Star Force 2 doesn't engage with the game's main gimmick at all. And so it literally does not matter what version you play. And now into the Gemini Spark fight. So the gimmick for this is there's actually two of them. One takes damage, the other does not. So I want to just shoot only the one that'll actually take damage. And I will take crit damage from them because they are electric and Ice Pegasus is water. So they knocked me out of my Star Force form. That's no big deal because I still do tons of damage.
Yeah.
And we are now entering the final scenario of the game. So we've beaten all of the FMEans that were sent to Earth to come after us, and we learned that the main the reason they've come here is I had mentioned way back that they're coming here to get, for Omegasis because he took something. He took what's called the Andromeda key, which is the key needed to activate Planet FM's planet killer. And so Omegasis didn't want them to be able to utilize it, so he stole the key that's used to activate it, and then fled to Earth. And there's a whole lot of story stuff that happens in this section where we no longer have any brother bands, because Geo got upset and told everybody off. So now we don't have any brothers anymore. Everyone's left us. And we're gonna go talk to Aaron.
Yeah, this game has a great story. Like that's the biggest thing that stands out to me about it. I just remember the story more than anything else as being just very touching and heartfelt. Yeah, it is really good.
Now that we've talked to Aaron, we get informed of a situation that's going on in Times Square, so we have to run over there to figure out what's going on. This whole time, Omegasis is gone as well. So not only do we not have any brother bands, Omegasis is also gone. So we can't even pulse in. We can't become Mega Man. We just have to figure out ourselves what's going on.
Everyone's gone, yeah. Legally distinct Times Square. I don't even know why they did that. I mean, I guess more recognizable to Western audiences, but it's like, I mean, it's clearly Shibuya. What can I say?
And we find out something's going on here, and then we get a help signal that takes us back to Dream Island. So this is the point where technically I have this game's Giga card available to equip. So I'm going to equip that just before we go into this next area. It won't really matter because I can crank out damage anyway, but just having the Pegasus Magic card, if we draw it, we can use it. So there's a jammer who's somehow in the physical world. So we're going to use the same machine from earlier to knock him out with a baseball. Just going to knock him out, and we're going to go into the next screen where we're going to get into an encounter. Now, this next screen is also where we're going to hear one of my favorite tracks in the game that unfortunately I feel this remix version is not nearly as good. And that's the Ephemian theme itself. I don't think this version of it is as good as the original.
So can you change out the individual remastered tracks or not?
Nope, you can only have them on or off.
Show 'em what you've got, Gio.
Stinks.
Like the entirety of them on and off.
And I'm telling you, man, if you ever do get the Mega Man ZX, your own ZX Legacy Collection, do look into those music mods because they are amazing.
Now we've rescued everybody, so this is where we learn the Andromeda Key, and they were able to take it. And it's also where we reform our brother band with Sonia. So I, again, as I mentioned earlier, cutscenes where you form brother bands, you can't skip. So I have to, again, mash through all this. Thankfully, it doesn't go nearly as long as it did the first time around.
Shoutouts to Sonya having more screen time.
Now we're going to go to what originally was the scariest fight in the game. So I mentioned earlier when you asked, like, is there any like real worrying parts? This next fight we're gonna do on DS is the scariest fight in the game because in this point we would have only about 300 HP, and we're going into a fight where the enemies are going to be constantly moving, could deal a bunch of damage really quickly, and there's 3 of them. And so it is by far the scariest fight in the entire run, where now we don't even really have to worry about it.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably a joke here.
Yeah. So you'll see here in a second. So this fight, these guys all have 800 HP, move very quickly, deal a bunch of damage.
That's what you get for
And we
You
don't
think
worry
you
about
busted them fast enough?
them. And now I can't skip this cutscene.
Yeah, that's insane.
But yeah, on the DS run, that is the scariest fight because we don't have the expected amount of health. Because usually casual players by this point would probably be close to like maybe 700 HP. We go in with maybe 300.
Lobo in the chat saying, clearly you got better at the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I just got... So, we're
That
going to
must give you
reform
the,
our brother band with Luna, so just mash through some more.
that must give you the best feeling of satisfaction to have that hard fight just totally wasted.
Oh, yeah. If you... before the week before Legacy Collection came out, we were doing a series relay where me and a couple other people were doing speed runs of the 3 games. And in my run of Star Force 1 for that relay, because it was done on DS, because the Legacy Collection wasn't out, that fight I finished at 1 HP. It is not
Wow,
uncommon for that fight to come down to the wire.
what a great way to end it. On a bang.
Now, we got to go back and talk to Aaron again. So we've reformed all our brother bands, and we got a new one with our friend Bud. His abilities, again, don't really contribute anything of value to us. So he's just not really worth it, but whatever.
1 HP in a dream. It's always like that.
Yeah, it was very scary. And that fight always is on console. Just a nerve-wracking fight.
Little did you know that that was probably the last time you would have such a hard time with him after moving over to the Legacy Collection. At least for a while.
So now we're at the point where we know that they're gonna summon Andromeda, and they're gonna send Andromeda after the Earth to destroy it. So we're trying to figure out desperately what we can do to maybe intercept it or stop it. And right now we're trying to figure out that the command center that they used to originally send the spaceship that our dad was on into space, we're trying to figure out where that's hidden, because that is our best chance at actually intercepting it. Because we find out that the FMians are actually on board the same spaceship our dad was on. And so if we can get to the same control, like the same place they were using to communicate with it, that there's hope that we can communicate with the station still. So this guy just so happens to be one of the people who was a part of that project. And so we have to get him to spill the beans. And we have to bribe him. So I have to go into his translator just to figure out... I have to talk to his translator in order to set things correctly for me to be able to do this. But now that I've talked to his translator, I can come in here. And this is the one time we're going to make a purchase in the game. And we have to have at least 3,000 Zenny to do this. Thankfully, because of not actually spending anything. And all of the money we've been getting from boss fights. Oh, we can just buy it, no problem.
EM wave change. Geostellar. On the air.
Now we can go give the tea to the old man. And then he also has just a lot of dialogue.
3-year-olds like to talk a lot.
So there he tells us that some of the data used for all that stuff he hid somewhere because he just didn't want to think about it anymore. And we're going to go to where he hid it. And it was in one of the museum exhibits, which conveniently, it's hidden in the exhibit that's based off of the exact spaceship itself.
EM wave change. Geostellar. On the air.
Yeah, it is kind of funny that he doesn't question that you teleported to the back of the store.
Yep, he just don't care.
So I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but that 30-year-old old man meme, is that fake or not? Is it actually in the game, that dialogue?
I'm pretty sure it's real. It's been a while since I've actually investigated it, but I'm pretty sure that is actually real.
Really? Okay, I've heard so many people saying the opposite. But it seems like really just no one has the definite answer. Like no one's actually putting the screenshot online, you know?
I mean, there's definitely the real answer somewhere. I just don't remember off the top of my head.
If anyone in chat knows, I'd be very interested to learn. Play and
It's
find out.
definitely-
Hey, say that too. Play and find out.
It's definitely the type of humor I would expect the game to actually genuinely have. So
See, that's how I feel too. Absolutely 100%.
So we got the data we need, and turns out where we're looking for is hidden here in the dumps. So before we go into this next screen, I need to actually read the message. Oh, there we go. Oh,
Do you usually do you save a lot in your normal speed runs of this game?
No.
Wow, really?
Oops. So I need to sit here and change to Shovel Man. Yeah, typically we won't really save. I mean, before that fight that I did, that I said like the scariest fight, I would save
Yeah.
before that one. But other than that, no, you wouldn't really save.
And this game has auto saves, right? Like this
On
collection.
Legacy Collection, it does.
Yeah, yeah.
And now, here's where we're looking for, the Secret Center. And we're also going to run into Gemini Spark again. So this is the section where playing on Dragon would be very beneficial, because by the time you do this fight, you'll have the Dragon Giga card, which will allow you to do a free 1,000 damage to Gemini instantly.
Bring it on.
Wow. Nice.
We showed them who's number one.
Forklift certification, man. That's the man.
And now we gotta go back, because we're gonna actually get prepared to leave into outer space. Because
Oh,
we're gonna be
yeah.
the ones that's gonna go stop Andromeda.
Can we make a pit stop and save Mega Man Vonip while we're at it?
If only. I also need to change this to Keyman. That's something I wish they had changed with the Legacy Collection, is when I'm cycling through these cards, Geo comes to a complete stop every time you do it. And I wish they changed
Oh.
that.
Yeah, that stinks.
Alright. Oh, by the way, this whole time our mom doesn't know what's happening either. So she doesn't know we're Mega Man either.
Does she know anything about what you've been doing over the last however many weeks?
Nope. She doesn't learn until end of Star Force 3.
She doesn't have internet, it's okay. Is it really, though?
And some of the response I've seen to Legacy Collection, specifically with the camera stuff, like the fact that you can do the free camera, a lot of people have criticized this final dungeon or criticized that camera because of the final dungeon here, where using the free cam kind of trivializes the final dungeon's gimmick. We're going to trivialize it even further, because we don't even need to engage with the gimmick at all. So we find Aaron passed out here. Good news, nothing actually happened to him. He just passed out because he was tired. He wasn't hurt. And now we're going to space.
You know,
So
more
we're now-
complainers... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
We are now officially on the same space station that our dad disappeared from.
Eight. Dashy Swag saying, I was about to say, you know what trivializes the gimmick more? Knowing the pattern.
Yep.
Pretty much. I mean, hey, that's always Mega Man. Memorization is the key to everything.
Oops. Yeah, so it won't be a bother because we just know the patterns we have to actually do. The whole gimmick for the final comps are you're supposed to fly around and figure out a constellation and then draw the constellation. But because we just know what the constellations are, we don't have to actually do any of that.
Nice.
So I can just go straight to the door and give it the constellation it wants.
It's also a nice crash course on learning constellations, huh?
Slightly. Doing it this way in Legacy Collection is a little awkward.
Prepare yourself.
Like filling out those, filling in the constellations a little awkward. And here for fun, that's what the Pegasus magic looks like.
Nice.
Did you really think you could beat us?
I'd imagine the touchscreen has to get kind of hard to work with in the original.
It wasn't too bad. As long as your DS touchscreen was calibrated, it was fine. So it wasn't too bad. It's definitely slower to do it on Legacy Collection than it ever could be on DS.
Interesting.
You can definitely do it very quickly on the DS.
Lobo in the chat saying, I didn't learn these out of Star Force. I got another anime that made me memorize the constellations. Hey, whatever works for you, man.
And into the next one we go.
EM wave change. Geostellar. On the air.
The music in these computers is nice. I agree. Yeah, Star Force just has great music.
Pulse in.
Gotta love it.
Then, in very classic fashion, we're refighting all the bosses again.
Heck yeah.
Oh, why'd
Is
you move?
that hard in the original speedrun, the boss rush?
Nope.
Yeah.
Because at this point, a lot of these guys don't really pose too big of a threat, even at their EX forms, which is what they are here. They don't really pose too big of a threat. Especially since we're going to be full health at that point, so...
Gotcha. Mega Man Battle Network / Star Force bosses rushes are usually pretty easy, says Hard Candy.
Yeah, it's more like the way I view them for these games is it feels more like a victory lap, where you can just utterly destroy them coming back.
Make you feel good about how far you've come in your adventure, huh?
Yeah.
So as a Battle Network fan, how do you feel about a lot of the Navis kind of being, like, sidelined? I mean, because you got this, like, Propeller Man over here who doesn't seem as impressive as the Navis in a lot of the Navis anyway in Battle Network.
Yeah, I do think it's funny that they've basically just become, like, very antiquated. And even more so in Star Force 2 and onward. Oh, that's not what... where they're basically just completely replaced, and they have no need for Navis anymore.
Yeah, antiquated is a good way to say it, I think. Like, they've clearly been, you know, their upgrades have kind of replaced them in a way.
Bring it on.
We don't get anything special for this. But it doesn't matter because he dies very quickly anyway.
Blasted him into stardust.
And now we enter the final section of the space station. So we have one more refight and then the final boss. So we come over here, and this is where we find out our dad was living in this section. And there's a picture. It's supposed to be a picture of Geo and his dad on the wall there.
Yeah, I could see that.
Geostellar, on the air.
Now, home stretch now, huh?
Yep.
Pulls in.
Okay, and then the final one. And we don't get anything special, so we just gotta fight her like normal.
Did you really think you could beat us?
And now
must be
that's
so-
all of the refights.
It must be so wild for you to, like, you know, coming off of years of speedrunning this game, then you get to play the Legacy Collection, and you find that everything is a joke now, like, on your usual route.
It's very fun. I do actually like it because it feels more refreshing to play it like this,
Geostellar, on the air.
where I just don't have to worry. So we're entering
Yeah.
the final area where we're gonna go fight Andromeda. And Andromeda has two phases. The first phase, he's vulnerable pretty much the whole time, and then his second phase, he changes forms and is only vulnerable for a certain period of time. Normally, the idea is that you deal as much damage in the first phase before he transforms, so you spend less time with his other phase. So I'm gonna try and do. So this will make him have very little HP in his second form.
Yeah,
So yeah, you're going into second form with only 175 HP.
that's crazy.
And then- The speedrun doesn't end when Andromeda is defeated. We have a small little walking section afterwards. So that's the final boss. He's already gone.
GG's.
And now we have to escape. So we have a little bit more walking. And that's time.
Hey, GG's.
So that is Mega Man Star Force any percent.
Nice. Oh, dang. I'm just going to say that your skill was so evident there. And it wasn't the Legacy Collection making a joke of pretty much everything.
Yeah, during the lead up to this the Legacy Collection coming out, and they revealed a lot of these like all these settings. We knew immediately that we were gonna have to split the leaderboards, much like the
Yeah.
Battle Network Legacy Collection has splits for this stuff. My approach was always that I was gonna mess with the runs that have like everything cranked to 11 just to see how low the time would get. But I don't really have any intent on like seriously grinding this out because realistically, it's not all that interesting when you don't really. It basically just boils down to being a boss rush. You're just walking between bosses and that's it. There really isn't a whole lot happening other than boss fights. So the way I've done this today is not the way that I would intend to grind this out. I would definitely. I've mentioned it before. I think the only thing I would probably want to do is just to have the increased run speed, and that be the only setting I have enabled. Just because I feel like increasing Geo's movement speed is more of a quality of life thing rather than like a game breaking thing. So
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad you got to show this off because, man, it really is an excellent showcase of just how much you can do with the Legacy Collection.
yeah. And so I would just want to give people, like I mentioned before, I had done a Legacy Collection speedrun like this for all three games. So The world record for Star Force 1 on DS is 2 hours and 43 minutes. I just did that in an hour 46. The world record for Star Force 2, I think, is like an hour 50 minutes. And on Legacy Collection, I did it in like an hour 25, I think. And then for
Wow.
Star Force 3, the record was 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I did it in I think I did it like an hour 40. So they really cut down on it significantly.
Do you think the Legacy Collection runs will replace, your original console? Like, do you think we'll be doing more runs on Legacy Collection versus DS in the future?
Yeah. I don't think I'll go back to DS runs. I wanted to at least get a sub 3 hour time on DS before the Legacy Collection came out. But unfortunately, the last run I did before the collection came out, I ended up dying to the final boss, which cost me 2 minutes. So I missed my sub 3 goal. So my current PB on DS is 3 hours flat.
Yeah, wow. Nice.
But I probably won't go back to DS runs. They do, obviously, they'll still exist. We have the leaderboard split between people running on DS or Legacy Collection. But I personally probably won't return to doing runs on the DS.
Yeah, it's probably just a lot more convenient, like hardware-wise too, to do it on the Legacy Collection.
Oh yeah, it's going to be infinitely more accessible for everybody. We do have a split for people who use emulator for the DS game. So even like people, I know some people have always viewed that sort of split as like discouraging for people. So like to have the game split by if you're doing it on real hardware or emulator